Okay, everybody, so this is my review of Dexter New Blood Episode 2. This time, instead of it being written by showrunner Clyde Phillips, it is written by Warren Leonard, and again is directed by Marcos Siega. So if the first episode, you can look at it as it was the episode to catch us up with where Dexter is now in this story about 10 years later and understand where his head is at. This episode really is what feels like the start of the season, meaning it is the start of the main story arc and where we're possibly going to go with this season. So it almost feels like its own premiere on its own right in that case. And you see where they're kind of setting up different interesting things that can happen. And what's really catching my attention mostly right now is the mystery of who Harrison really is, what he's really like. And they do a good job with toying with you throughout the episode about, is Harrison like Dexter? Is he different? And what I like is that they're kind of giving you a little bit of both, where we don't really know what happened in this big reveal that Hannah, unfortunately Yvonne Strahovski, who I love as an actress, is dead in the show. So I guess we're not going to see her again. But anyway, we learned in that time that he was going from foster home to foster home. So something was happening during that. We learned that he used to be someone who had a problem with drugs, and now he's clean. He knows how to pick a lock really well. In the beginning of the episode, he kind of stares at knives like Dexter does. But then you get other things like, he does seem more friendly. He's not as awkward as Dexter when Dexter assumes he might be and then wants him to stay in his cabin for the day. He's like, no, I'm gonna go talk. I can handle myself. He's got tendencies that are different. So it's kind of pulling with you teases both ways. So it keeps that mystery alive, and that's going to be interesting throughout the season as we learn more about this mysterious Harrison and how much he actually is like his father, Dexter. I also love in that case, too, when we see that Dexter realizes he's not as awkward as him, and he goes and talks to Audrey, that, again, what's been the shining point of the show to me is having Deborah be the new Harry here for Dexter. It's so fascinating because it seems like Jennifer Carpenter and Michael C. Hall are having so much fun doing this. It's fresh, and it's just a nice voice to have challenging Dexter and what he's doing and having those two sides of his mind combating against each other. And I thought this was one of the best moments when Dexter screams in the car to himself and lets that emotion out. And we see that Deborah's like, you are the same Dexter, and you're going to screw him up. And boo-hoo, he's not the serial killer you thought he was in Harrison. But Dexter's like, I'm not the same Dexter. So he's fighting these thoughts. And then she's laughing at him in the woods where he's so sloppy right now with his serial killing, which I thought was a great touch. And it wraps around really well with the Jennifer Carpenter appearances, because when he gets his little victory at the end here, that he hid all this stuff going on with Matt, she's like, okay, you win, you smug F word. So it's like they did a good job. And with that, they blended humor so well through this episode. And it reminded me of Dexter at its best when it has really good humor with Dexter's narration. And there's a couple lines that stood out to me with that. There's ones like Harrison where he's like, I didn't do this, covering up for you. I just didn't want to cop my business. And he's like father, like son. I really like that. But I love when he reacts to Angela and he says, we need to talk, words you never want to hear from your girlfriend or doctor. And he says that in his head. I thought that was great. And even humor without Dexter, where Angela even says to Scott later on, this kid in this goofy teen group here, that his shirt's 2 sizes too small. And he's just like, shit. That was great. I thought that was so funny. And besides the interest here built with this mystery of Harrison, we now have this mystery of who is our season's killer here that isn't Dexter. And I love when they have a killer on the other side of Dexter. It can really bring the season to the next level, like season 4 was with John Lithgow, where you have a really fascinating killer on the other side that it goes against Dexter and gets in his way, and you're learning more as the season goes on. They're slowly building that up here because you're left wondering, okay, so we see this girl from the last episode was the same girl Angela saw in the bar that was in town. Angela was looking out for her, and if you forget, she literally said to her, you should stay with that woman. She runs a shelter. Be careful, because we're learning, we can assume that Angela lost possibly a daughter, maybe a sister, this person that's brought up named Iris. And that's why she's so protective, maybe why she joined the force about missing women, and specifically missing Indigenous women. And this theme is brought up throughout the episode, but it's also foreshadowed last episode with this girl who's going to have this unfortunate fate here where she's in this motel, and this is where this killer is watching her. We see he watches her through a camera. We didn't actually see her dead body yet, but I'm sure that's going to open the next episode. But you left wondering, what is his MO? We don't know yet. We don't know how he kills his prey. We just know kind of how he traps them now. So it's going to be interesting. My theory is, I hope it's not this because it would be too obvious at this point, but we already know that Clancy Brown was cast in the show. He's a great actor. He is playing Kurt Caldwell. That's got to be his eyeball we're watching on the screen, right? Like, he's got a certain look to him. I feel like that's definitely him. It makes the most sense, and he usually always plays a villain in anything he's in. Maybe not, though. Maybe he's just villainous in his own way as the father of Matt, and he gets in Dexter's way, and he's not the killer, so maybe it's a red herring. But right now, I think that's definitely the highest odds. But I'd love to know your theories on who this killer might be. Maybe just give me a theory, like if you don't, why it's not him. I'd love to hear that kind of argument. But we'll see. That's going to be really interesting. But I love the attention to detail in this episode. Stuff you gotta just clap at, especially if you watch on a second watch. You appreciate it more. Like when they set up base camp here for the search team in the beginning of the episode at Dexter's, Angela has this line, literally says, "Everybody, come on, meet by the fire pit." Right when they get there to talk about looking for Matt Caldo's body. But now we know at the end of the episode, it's literally under them when they're having this meeting of how they're going to do the search party. It's under the fire pit. I thought that was such a nice touch to have that line. Just great stuff. And it's interesting, as we go on through the season, you're going to wonder if they're going to bring back really two main characters that are still alive from the original show, in Masuka and Batista, who are very popular characters. I have a feeling they will come back, but maybe as a cliffhanger for the next season. I don't know if they'll be in this season. I don't know how they'd get there. But I do feel like this character of Teddy, who's the cop here, who's kind of the goofy one, is playing the Masuka-esque role of the comic relief. Some similarities there, so we'll see if that continues. So that makes me think we might not see Masuka this year, but who knows? But what I like is they're doing a good job at really adding weight to Harrison being this grounding character for Dexter, which is so important in Dexter. The show lost some of its soul when Rita died, because Rita was that for Dexter and always grounded him and was like a moral compass and was turning him to this better man he could be, and I think they're kind of doing that, hopefully, with Harrison here, because he's got lines, Dexter, in his head, like, he's my son, I lost him once, I won't lose him again, and you see nice moments with him and Harrison, in particular, towards the end of the episode, actually, when Harrison reads this letter he found that Dexter wrote to Hannah, but found it when Hannah died, and it says, "Reach out to me if Harrison shows any dark tendencies," which is totally traumatic for a son to read, that his father writes about him, and he tells him that, and he's like, "What was so wrong with me that you left and changed identity?" And Dexter's like, "It wasn't you I was scared of, it was me." So he is opening up a little bit to him, and not giving him the full story, but he's tiptoeing with him, and he's like, "I regret not being with you, especially now that you're alone. I never imagined that would happen." And you see Harrison says, "When I thought you were dead, I looked at a photo of you every night." So you see that bond they're really having as father and son, which is important here, and will make this story really great. And I love the line where Dexter says, "Maybe I can be there for you now if you're willing to risk the chance I would screw you up." So it's a little slip of Dexter coming out there, kind of hinting to his son, like, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" And makes you wonder, how much is he going to let on to Harrison? And vice versa, how much is Harrison going to let on to Dexter about each other? So I like that fascinating relationship of, there's a mystery they have of each other here. We know Dexter's story, but we don't know Harrison. So it's interesting to see what we'll learn here as Dexter learns. And you see there's a great line here with Harrison's like, "All my memories of you were good, so why are you being so shady, and the worst you ever did was leave me." So he decides to stay, give Dexter a chance. And I like they come full circle, little things like talking about the blueberry pancakes that Harrison loved in the beginning. Dexter offered him, he didn't want him, but now he's like, "I'll take regular pancakes." So I think that's a good touch and always good writing, getting your payoffs for even little things. I also want theories, too, about when Harrison is with this group of just goofy teens here doing bad things and being jerks, having to look through his bag when he's literally just going to grab wood real quick. What did you guys think of those sketches in the sketchbook of Harrison's? I only saw there was this bald man, shout out bald people, and we don't know who that bald man is, but in the next picture in the sketchbook, it seems like it's a picture of himself, Harrison, on a stand in a courtroom, and a woman walking by him, and it looks like, some kind of almost like Capitol looking building in the distance. I wonder if you guys have any theories. There's got to be importance to those sketches that Harrison's drawing, kind of maybe teasing us of what we might learn about his past. And you feel bad for Harrison here. It's making his character sympathetic, where he sees the kids, looking through his bag. I think there was stuff here where it was a little eye-rolly with him and Audrey, especially in the woods, where they're talking over each other, and oops, and they're flirting. It's okay. It could be a little more updated, though. That felt a little dated, how that scene was kind of structured, but, we'll see. I don't want too much, again, of the doofy teens around here messing things up. You can get away with Audrey and Harrison, but, we don't want to be too much in the zone around a bunch of teenagers doing stupid stuff. It always tunes people out and kind of can hamper a show. So what I'm liking about this show, though, compared to other seasons of Dexter, is what would frustrate me even in the good season of Dexter is there was always like a B plot that was just, not even a B plot, C plot that was just torturous. Like a lot of that stuff would happen with LaGuardia and her love interest and stuff like that. So I'm happy the show isn't doing that right now, where sometimes with Dexter I feel like it's like half the show I'd be so into basically anything with Dexter, and everything else I'd be like, oh my god, like, can we get through this, So if they just stick to Dexter's story and then this killer and the mystery of Harrison, I think we're setting up a good season here. But look, it's exciting how this episode ends, because you see that Dexter feels like he's won here. He's covered it up. They're connecting it that Matt shot this white buck, so that's why he's on the run, and he's probably just somewhere, so they're going to cancel the search in that area. And, like I said, that's where Deb's like, oh, you smug F word, like, you win, whatever. But that's when we see now Clancy Brown, the actor who plays Kirk Caldwell here, Matt's dad, shows up, and that party's over for Dexter. He's reopening the search. We see he's a man of the town here, and he calls on the people of Iron Lake to reopen the search for his son. And we see they're developing him as he's hell-bent on finding his son. So we know already from there at the end that he's going to do anything possible to find him. So he's going to be this obstacle for Dexter. Whether he's the other killer or not, he's going to be the person that is on Dexter's tail constantly. So that should be interesting. I like that they ended it again while he said that. We get the reveal of Man in the Fire Pit. So it's a cool cliffhanger and reveal at the end of the episode. So I gave episode 1 9.1. This one was a little weaker to me, but still really good. Very close. 8.9. It's valuing the relationships in the show. And what makes story great is great relationships in shows, even over just character building, even over plot, and if they can keep the writing so well between Dexter and Harrison, this show is going to be great. I really feel this season will be really good, and that keeps up here. So it leaves me excited. And again, some sharp humor here with Dexter's narration, and I'm loving Deborah right now in the Harry role. I think it's the best decision the show made not to bring back Harry. I kind of made more of a case for that in episode 1. You can go back and check that out, but I'm not going to rant about the same thing again. But again, yeah, I think the sky's the limit here for this season. I'm excited with what they're doing. But, it's a little bit of setup, so you might get a little bit you might want a little more pace pickup, which I'm sure is going to happen next episode, especially when they find this dead body in this motel. So that's going to ramp everyone's reactions up to that. So we'll see what happens. It's going to shake the boat, but 8.9 for this. Let me know what you thought of it down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment. I try to respond as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of Dexter. I'm doing every episode this season. My review comes right after the episode airs, so you're not going to miss one. And if you like what I do here, I'd really appreciate if you could just sign up for the membership down below. There's a join button. It will help me do this full time a day so I can make more reviews, cover more shows, and you get special perks as well for doing it. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for clips from my interviews with celebrities and reviews and more of me in general. And I'll see you next time.